Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of this F1 25 Joshua Pearce career mode. If you did miss the last episode, Lando Norris claimed victory at the Chinese Grand Prix with Max Verstappen jumping up on the podium in P2 and Lewis Hamilton got his first podium with the Scarlet Red Ferrari. My race was going so well until I ran into fuel issues where I was just unexpectedly burning through so much of it, and as a result I had to do massive fuel savings for the entire second stint, which was really disappointing considering we put in an absolute blinder of a lap to get pole position on not only the sprint race but the Grand Prix as well. We got a P2 in the sprint race behind Norris, and in the end it was down into the points and just outside the top 5 for the Grand Prix. Lando Norris, he'll go into this weekend as the championship leader by 9 points to Max Verstappen. Jack Doohan in third, 20 points behind. Ourselves in 8th, tied on points with Pierre Gasly, and our teammate Sonny Hayes in P22 yet to score a point. McLaren lead the Constructors' Championship by 3 points to Red Bull Racing. Then Alpine are in third, 19 points behind. APXGP find ourselves in P6, 7 points behind Mercedes. And we've got a couple of developments on the car for this weekend. We have new floor stiffening stays and a cable assembly upgrade on the car. Unfortunately, the rear floor under tray and the improved materials for the turbo haven't made it for this weekend, so they'll need to be redeveloped for future rounds. And we're going to take a look at the performance charts now. Both McLaren and Red Bull bring upgrades this weekend to take their performance even further than the rest of the field. And Mercedes and Ferrari, they're now really close on their performance, and it is extremely close for the rest of the field, with ourselves nearly surpassing Sauber in performances. Now we take it straight to qualifying.
A warm welcome, everybody, from a venue that has seen plenty of sensational laps over the years. Remember, Verstappen in 23, Vettel in 2019, some phenomenal pole laps. But whose will it be today?
Well, if we could keep the run of form that we're currently in with our qualifyings to claim a pole position here in Japan, that would be one hell of a day. But we'll go straight into qualifying one, and Lando Norris is out of the session. What on earth has happened here for Norris to be out so early into the session? And he's rear-ended a slow Max Verstappen coming out of the pit lane. On board here with Pierre Gasly, the collision happens in front of him and he just doesn't know where to go, and he'll also make contact with Lando, and we'll continue our flying lap, and we're not expecting the incident to still be sitting there at turn 1, and so we have to take avoiding action, and that's our first lap done and dusted. But we've also now scarred these tyres, as you know, we've already taken a little bit of life out of them through the last corner and through the first corner. Is now behind us as yellow flag, and now Bamman is off. What is going on here in Japan? What is going on? What have the blossom trees put into the air around here for so many incidents to be happening? And Bamman just drives off the road, and now we're finally on a flying lap, and our Piastri is off in front of us, and we have to take avoiding action. We get a little bit of a rear wiggle going on there as we kind of overreact from him going off into the gravel. There is something definitely happening around here, so now we take too much curb going through the final chicane, and we'll cross the line to end our first flying lap here, and it'll put us P8. That's not a great lap time, so we're going to go again on another fresh set of soft compound tyres here, and you can see there we're 7/10 of a second up, so we've definitely found plenty more time, and this time with no more distractions, and P8 is a little bit better that time around. And we'll finish off the session with Max Verstappen fastest in qualifying 1 by 9/10 of a second ahead of his teammate Yuki Tsunoda. A massive margin here in the first part of qualifying. Then it's Fernando Alonso in third, as second behind, and myself in 10th, 1.7 seconds behind. Knocked out in qualifying 1, Liam Lawson, Gabriel Bortoletto, Jack Doohan, Esteban Ocon, our teammate Sonny Hayes in P21, and Norris, who did not set a lap time after his crash early on in the session. And rounding out our first flying lap here in qualifying 2, we're going to hit the DRS button and cross the line, and it is going to be P8 once again. But again, I'm not sure if that's going to be enough, so we go out again. We use another set of tyres that we've got here. That first lap was done on a set of used tyres, so the fresh tyres, what can that do for us? And it is going to be P6 for us. I can read it there on the steering wheel, and for confirmation, there we are in P6. And this time around, it's Yuki Tsunoda, the fastest in qualifying 2, ahead of his teammate by 0.2 of a second. Oscar Piastri in third, 0.3 behind. In sixth is ourselves, 1.2 seconds behind. Knocked out in qualifying 2 is Pierre Gasly, Oliver Bamman, George Russell, Albon, Hadjar, and Lance Stroll. As now we've got a used set of tyres currently on the car. What sort of lap time can we do in this session? And it is going to be P5. Yeah, that's not a great time, 7/10 down on Lewis Hamilton crossing the line there. So a fresh set of tyres have been plonked on to the car. We're half a second up now on this lap. Can we get any further up the field? It is to P7. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. I'll take that considering we're in the slowest car on the grid at the moment. But it is Oscar Piastri who takes I'm going to say an upset pole position, because it has been the Red Bulls looking so dominant, and it's only by a tenth of a second ahead of Max Verstappen. Tsunoda will line up in third, 3 tenths behind, and myself in 7th.
No fewer than 12 world champions have been crowned at Suzuka, but who will be tasting glory today at the checkered flag? We're approaching lights out, and we can't wait for the Japanese Grand Prix. 18 corners make up a lap of the incredible figure-of-8 Suzuka circuit, with 10 to the right and 8 to the left, for a distance of 3.6 miles. Average lap speeds around here are fairly quick. If it stays dry, then expect somewhere in the region of 136 miles per hour. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Oscar Piastri lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Tsunoda, Leclerc, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, and Hamilton, Pearce, Fernando Alonso, Sainz, and Nico Hülkenberg, Gasly, Behrman, George Russell, and Albon, Hadjar, Stroll, Liam Lawson, and Gabriel Bortoleto, Ocon, Doohan, Hayes, and Lando Norris starts from the back of the grid. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. And alongside me today, a man who I'm always pleased to see join me in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. Glorious Suzuka. It's a bit like Silverstone, an iconic track for which we couldn't have an F1 season without it. And so much for the drivers to think about around here.
Absolutely, Crofty. The only figure-of-8 circuit that we have on the calendar, and you kind of wonder, why don't we have more? Because it's such a good format. The drivers love this track. It's got a great flow to it, a fantastic circuit. Not the best for overtaking, but my goodness, from inside the car, it's a real treat for the drivers.
Radio check, radio check. Right, let's see if we can push for another points finish in this race. Good luck.
Pretty shaken up field for today's Japanese Grand Prix, and for the first time this season, the recommended strategies are a 2-stop. So we're going to edit the alternate strategy to start on the mediums and then switch to the hards on lap 9 and then pit for a second time on lap 20 for the medium tyre to sprint it to the end, which I think will be... It projects me to be 2 seconds slower, but I think tyre wear wise and me being able to push that much harder will be the quicker tyre to be on. As now we get ready for the start of the Grand Prix, and we're away, and Antonelli has had an absolute shocker start. He is standing still, so we're already up into P5, up 2 positions. We sneak it on the grass past Yuki Tsunoda and sweep it around the outside briefly for a moment. 3 wide, we're still side by side with Charles Leclerc using all of the exit on turn 2, and we make a little bit of mistake at the drop it down the 4th gear, a little bit of a tail whip there on the curb, and we'll maintain a P3 position. We've had an absolute brilliant start from P7 to be up to 3rd already. Then we have Leclerc right behind us, Gasly side by side, but he'll win the battle there with Carlos Sainz. Now we jump to the end of lap 1, starting lap 2, and it is Pierre Gasly. He is on the charge. He wants to get up the inside of Nico Hülkenberg, and Hülkenberg is shafted out wide at turn 2, and he is also going to lose the position to Carlos Sainz. So now he finds himself outside the points in P11, so not a great sequence of corners there from the German driver. Side by side now, down the back straight into 130R, side by side, very daring stuff, and it is going to be Carlos Sainz that comes out on top of this battle. He'll go around the outside through the chicane, a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact there, and he'll maintain position here in P9. Gasly demoted down to P10 in all of this as they now start lap 3, and up in front there's a battle between Alonso and Hamilton, with Alonso getting the position ahead of Lewis, using the DRS to great effect to get himself ahead into turn 1 and put himself now up into P6, but unfortunately he hasn't been able to break a gap big enough to defend down the straight once again. Hamilton, he will now take that position away, and Hülkenberg fancies his shot getting back into the points, and he'll take P10 away from Pierre Gasly, and Gasly defending from George Russell, who's desperate to try and get himself back into the points after a poor qualifying on board with ourselves as we start lap 5. We're in the DRS, we're on the fresher tyres, we're on the better tyres, and we're getting ourselves past Oscar Piastri going into turn 1, and that is going to be us now up into P2. Can we try and catch Max Verstappen? He's already bolted, he's 5 seconds ahead, and he's on the same compound tyres, but you can see that he is constantly just pulling a gap on us as we get our first objective of the Grand Prix. We need to stay ahead of Oscar Piastri. It's going to be crucial for our strategy if we can stay ahead of him, because we will then be essentially defending from the tyre deficit. Eventually, these mediums will start going away, and those hard tyres will be the tyre to be on, and they are on Oscar's car as Carlos Sainz gets himself now past Fernando Alonso up into P8, and he'll also be continuing the charge. He looks to the inside of Kimi Antonelli down the straight, and he's going to get it done before they make it to turn 1, but he still takes a compromised racing line into the corner, but he will maintain position up into P7. Carlos Sainz on the charge through the field, back on board with ourselves as we start lap 9. Our pit window has opened. We're going to be boxing this lap to jump onto the hards, but we've got Piastri right behind us in the DRS. He goes to our inside. We fail it, but he also shoves us out wide, so now we're going to lose not 2, not 3 positions, and it is going to be Tsunoda and Leclerc that get by us, and we drop down now to P5 behind all of these other guys. We were meant to be right in front of them as we come into the lane, but unfortunately, by the time we get into the lane, we've caught up to the back of them, but the damage has already been done. I feel like I may have been just slightly brake checked there, going through the middle of the corner. I feel like I didn't change my entrance into the first corner there, but I had to take the avoiding action, and just to make matters even worse in this whole sequence of events, I have a late turn in. We do a bad pit stop, and then I mess up the clutch release on the pit box exit, and so, oh no, we're behind so many cars. We've come out in so much traffic. This is just going to be an absolute nightmare. We did have one of the Ferraris also come into the pits right in front of us, and you can see there on the mini-map and them going through the hairpin right here that they have come out ahead of this pack of cars. They've still got a little bit of traffic, but it's nowhere near what we have to deal with, and you can see just how much pace we do have. We're able to just drive away from Lando Norris, as now Max Verstappen, after getting himself an 11-second lead in this Grand Prix, now finds himself boxing for, I'm going to say he's on the 2-stop as well, because he's boxing very early, and around a track like this with the tyre wear, I don't think he's going to be making it on the end. You can see there, the medium tyres are going onto Max's car there. He started on the mediums, so he's definitely on a 2-stopper, having to do multiple tyre compounds as we send it now down the inside of Ocon. We're desperate to get through this traffic. We lock up, and we're going into the side of Esteban Ocon now. Can we use our better traction to try and finish off this overtake to get ourselves up into P6? But the damage has already been done trying to get through these well, not lap cars, just cars that haven't boxed yet, because Leclerc is now 5 seconds up the road from us, as Hamilton, the other Ferrari, is getting himself by Lando Norris, who's also on a recovery drive, qualifying dead last after not setting a lap time. He crashed in practice, on board with ourselves again. Our next objective of the Grand Prix, we need to save fuel. Has Mark maybe seen something? Has he seen something? And he doesn't want us to have a repeat of last weekend. We've got 1.6 laps in the tank. I definitely made sure to overfill for this one. I did not want to take any chances whatsoever, and so now we have to go into a fuel saving mode, which is not what I want when I've got a Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion, on the soft compound tyres right behind me, and he goes sailing past into turn 1. But hopefully we can try and stay with him, use a bit of that DRS, try and see if he can't bring us up to the back of Yuki Tsunoda, but we'll calm things down. We'll do an order check. It's going to be Oscar Piastri leading the way from Max Verstappen, and then Charles Leclerc. Piastri leading the way because he hasn't done a pit stop yet. I'm going to be saying he is on the 1-stop, trying to go long, and then having a shorter second stint. And then it's Yuki Tsunoda, Lewis Hamilton, ourselves in P6, Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, the 2 Mercedes of Kimi Antonelli, and George Russell, as we see a bit of a pack here. Just behind Gasly and Hulkenberg, it's Albon, Lawson, Hadjar now in P16, then it's Behrman, Stroll, Ocon, Jack Doohan will find himself in P20 just behind this big battle pack here. Then he's tailed by our teammate Sonny Hayes in 21st, and then Gabriel Bortoleto brings up the rear of the field, but on board with ourselves now. We're going to be getting a call here from Mark, which I wasn't expecting to see. When he's still not due to come into the pits for another 5 laps. We've only been on these tyres for 5 laps, and he's already calling us into the lane. As now Piastri, he's got caught by Max Verstappen, so Verstappen is now essentially an entire pit stop ahead of Oscar Piastri. Piastri will come in though for his one and only stop. He started there on what looks like could have been the hard tyres. I didn't quite get a good look there as the car went by, and that is indeed the hard tyres that he started the race on. So the medium tyres will go onto Oscar's car, and it's a slow stop. It's a very slow stop for Oscar Piastri as he comes into the lane, and now we're into the lane. And can we do a better pit stop here? It's an optimal turn in, better than a late turn in. So our projected time is now is an entire second behind what it was, and we've even beaten the estimated stop time of 2.4. We did a 2.3, so things are looking up as we now head to leave the pit lane. Alex Albon goes on by. We're on the mediums. Once again, this tyre did feel very good in the opening stint. A little bit of wheel spin there as we floor it to try and get out ahead of all of this traffic, but Behrman just sneaks past us. So a little bit unfortunate there. We'll have to make our way back past Oliver Behrman, but no harm, no foul. We will be able to make ourselves past Oliver Behrman. We send it down the inside at the hairpin, a little bit deep than we would have liked, but we get the move done, and now we can set our sights onto Liam Lawson to get ourselves further up the field here. There's Tsunoda. He's looking to try and make it a Red Bull 1-2, and he will make it a Red Bull 1-2 down the inside of turn 1, and he'll get the position away from Charles Leclerc. And as we now jump back on board with ourselves, we've very quickly caught up to the back of Lawson. We've completed our objective of saving some fuel, and we also get past Lawson, who's currently on the softs, which is a bit of an interesting choice this late into the Grand Prix. So I would imagine he's still got another stop. Lap 18 now of the Grand Prix. We've got Hamilton coming out of the pits just in front of us, and we send it down the inside, and that is a very opportunistic overtake on Lewis Hamilton there to claim it P11 away. So the undercut has definitely worked, but has those extra 5 laps that we're going to be doing on these tyres, is that going to be compromising our grip towards the end of the Grand Prix? So Hamilton on much fresher tyres behind us. Now onto lap 19 of the Grand Prix. He's going to be using the DRS, and he's going to be able to pretty easily get by us into turn 1. He'll take the final points paying position at the moment with a heap of people still yet to make a pit stop as our teammate now comes into the lane. As we take a look at Max Verstappen, he's been so utterly dominant, 12 seconds ahead, and there's smoke. Was that smoke coming out the back? Definitely smoke coming out the back of the Red Bull, and he's going to be pulling it off to the side of the road. The dominant victory from Max Verstappen looked so certain. And in the last Japanese Grand Prix with Honda, it's going to be Yuki Tsunoda who now takes the lead of the Grand Prix. His first home race in the lead Red Bull team, as now our next objective is to overtake Alex Albon, who's just ahead of Lewis Hamilton here. So maybe we can try and get ourselves back past Lewis Hamilton and then ahead of Albon. Tsunoda, though, the new leader, will now come into the pits for his second stop of the day, which with only a 12-second lead should give Oscar Piastri the lead of the race. I can't imagine this being less than 12 seconds, as Piastri does now go past the Red Bull squad here, and Piastri will take the lead of the Grand Prix. 7 laps to go. Can Tsunoda try and claim this gap down? Do remember, Piastri's on the 1 stop, so that is the actual lead of the Grand Prix there for Oscar Piastri. We complete the overtake on Albon as he pulls into the lane, so it's not really an overtake, but we'll take it when it comes that easy. Now Ocon is having some issues. No smoke coming out the back, so I'm going to imagine this is going to be some sort of other mechanical issue, maybe an electrical fault of some sort. So far this season in the real-life Formula 1, we've seen lots of battery issues, especially with the Mercedes. So Haas, though, they haven't had a good form going into the last few Grand Prix, having quite a few DNFs, as we see George Russell get himself by Carlos Sainz. So there is a positive for Mercedes, and it's in this alternate universe for them, where they are being able to beat the Williams in Japan. As now we lose the position to Lando Norris. He's been slowly pulling away the gap away from us, and he has finally caught us, and with the superior tyre strategy that he's on much fresher medium compound tyres there, and he'll take the lead away. I did try to see if I can't get the DRS, but We do get the DRS, but we're just too far away, so we can't make anything happen of it. But Oscar Piastri has played a beautiful race. They've been on a superior strategy, and he'll claim victory here in Japan to take the title fight to his teammate after a bad day in the office. But it was damage limitation for Lando Norris today. Tsunoda is up on the podium in front of his home ground, and Charles Leclerc will take the podium for Ferrari. And for ourselves, P6, a pretty good result. It's up on where we started in P7, but oh, what could have been.
And an award-winning day for Oscar Piastri as he takes the checkered flag and wins.
They led from lights out to the flag at the end, and their race victory was never in doubt, was it? Brilliant stuff by them.
Well, I don't know about you, but I've absolutely loved watching that action today, and I'm sure these three have loved taking part. Here come our podium finishers. They give out trophies for the winners. Today, they're Oscars. Your winner today, Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, so we had a excellent race start. Probably the start we've had of this season up to P3. A bad first pit stop and then stuck in traffic was a real killer for us, and we tried to make our way back through the field, but unfortunately, just not much could have been done, and an early stop was probably not the right call, but we live and we learn. The rest of the top 10 was Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris, myself, George Russell, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, and Kimi Antonelli. Hayes in P18, Ocon and Verstappen non-finishers. Lando Norris leads the Drivers' Championship by 16 points to his teammate Piastri. Tsunoda in third, he's only 1 point back from Oscar. Myself in ninth, 2 points behind George Russell, and Hayes in P22, yet to still score some points. McLaren lead the Constructors' Championship by 20 points to Red Bull. Ferrari third, 13 points behind. And APX GP, we sit in P6, 6 points behind Mercedes. Our driver ratings, our experience, racecraft, awareness, pace, and gain some points. And the focus is up to level 79 for an overall of 83. Our driver recognition has remained at 49%. And as we now unwind from the weekend, we try and take note of what we can do better for the next Grand Prix. We are greeted with our first secret meeting of the series, so we will need to find out who may be interested in our services for next season. We've had a good start to the season, remembering we were on for a podium at the Australian Grand Prix before the tyre failure put us in the fence, and the last episode in China claiming both pole positions, but had bad fuel consumption that cost us the Grand Prix victory. But we'll have to wait for that in the next episode, where we hit the track in Sakhir for the Bahrain Grand Prix. I'll see you then.